Hi, Stats class. It's Miss O'Neill. I am going to be walking you through setting up your proportional word problems, while you are going to be left to complete the worksheet by solving the proportions we've set up together. So, in Start, we have the following worksheet. There's 4 questions on it. You are going to be writing this on a piece of paper. You have a choice of taking a picture of it and submitting it online through Canvas, or you can text it to me. My phone number is listed on the Canvas course. So our directions tell us to use a proportion to solve each word problem. Remember, a proportion is a fraction equal to another fraction. They're going to give us some kind of rate that we're going to want to continue to repeat it, but we want to change the rate, whether it's getting larger or smaller depending on the situation. We're going to be sure to round to the nearest tenth or cent when necessary. So our first question says the hockey team won 8 out of their first 14 games. At the same rate, how many games should you expect they win out of 84? So some important details in here. They gave us our first relationship listed in the first sentence. 8 out of 14 games. They want us to continue that rate. So whatever ways that they're connected in this first sentence, we want it to repeat. But the thing that's going to change is I'm trying to do this relationship out of 84 games. So if we're thinking about the idea of your relationship, your proportion, one of the things that we have to think about is that first sentence, 8 out of 14 games. Because it lists the 8 first, I'm going to put that on my fraction at the top. Then it says 14 games, so I'm going to put that on the bottom. Notice how I'm keeping it in the same fraction. If it's mentioned in the sentence together, we're going to put it in the fraction together. Now, I want to be a little bit more specific in here. This is how many they've won. So I'm going to put 1 on top, and these are their first 14 games, meaning that was all of the games or the total that they had played. And the reason why I'm choosing to do this is because we know if I want a proportion to be equal, however I set up this first fraction has to remain the same thing on the other side. So we know that however many games they won and however many total games they have is also going to be repeated onto the other side for our fraction. So if we keep reading, it says how many games should they expect to win out of 84? So we need to think about this 84. If the 84 is representing the number 1 or the total number of games they've played. If it says how many games should they expect to win, we don't know how many they've won. So we're going to put an X to show we have no idea. But we do know that they have 84 games that they have in total. When I look at this proportion, I see that we have matching units on top and on bottom of our fractions. So we can actually say that this is an equal proportion. In this situation, you would go and use your cross multiplication and start to solve. If you solved it correctly, you should be able to tell me what X equals in the end. How many games have they won out of 84? Okay, that's question number 1. Number 2. If 5 bags of mulch covers 32 square feet, how many square feet could 16 bags cover? So in this situation, we are given another proportion. If we're trying to gather the information that was given to us, I try and trick you a little bit in this first sentence. If 5 bags of mulch covers 36 square feet, that first value is hidden as a word. So make sure that you're reading it, not just kind of looking for the numbers. And it also tells us how many square feet, so that's that question we're looking for. If I have 16 bags, how many square feet would it cover? All right, so with that information in mind, we are going to try to figure out how to set up the proportion. Our first sentence is giving us the relationship. And remember, what is stated first is going to be written on our fraction on top. So 5 bags of mulch. Well, 5, and let's just put bags. On the bottom, it says 32 square feet. Now, there's a couple of abbreviations for square feet. You can write SQ and then feet, FT to represent square feet. We'll get into that a little bit more when we get into algebra. So, because I have the first fraction set up, I can go to the other side and tell myself that I know the top better have bags and the bottom has to have square feet. And now that I know the relationship of that other side, I can reread and find out where to place the numbers. The second part of this sentence said how many square feet. If I'm saying how many square feet, that means I don't know what number to place here. So we're going to put X. You could put T, S, F, whatever you want. It doesn't make a difference. A variable is a letter that just represents a number that we're trying to find. On top, we are told 16 bags is what we have. Okay? Double check your proportion. We have the 2 numbers on top representing the bags of mulch, and the 2 numbers on the bottom represent the square feet of coverage we get. So with this in our minds, we see a proportion as being set equal to each other, and they're matching across. Okay? So you would start going, because X is going to represent the square feet, you know X is going to equal some number, and it's going to be square feet. Okay? Jumping to number 3. We have Ken, who made $14,500 in 5 months at his new job. How much can he expect to make in 2 years if his pay remains constant? And remember, that word constant means the same. It's going to be an equal relationship. So, highlighting some important details, made a bunch of money in 5 months. We want to figure out how much he can expect to make. So how much is that phrase meaning how much money? And in this situation, it's for 2 years. Okay? So, if I go and set up my proportion, which I might need to squeeze this down a little bit. Give me one moment. There we go. And we'll get rid of this number. So, starting with the first sentence, 14,500. Notice how I don't have the dollar sign. We can put the dollar sign in the front to remind ourselves that's where the money belongs, but I'm not going to put the comma there. When you guys are going and working in your calculators, your calculator doesn't need the comma to know that represents 14,500. So we have the 14,500 on top, and I've put the dollar sign to represent that it is referring to money. I did not keep the comma because you don't necessarily need that when you're trying to solve the math problem. A calculator is going to know that's $14,500. And he's made this in 5 months. So, with that being said, we always want to look to the second fraction and ask ourselves what information should go where. This story compares money and months or time. So if I have a dollar amount on one side of the fraction, the dollar amount's got to go on the other. If I have months on the bottom of this fraction, months has to go onto the bottom of the fraction. So when I reread, it's asking how much can he expect to make? If I'm asking how much, again, that's representing the money amount, which means I have no idea how much he's making. But I want to figure it out based off of a 2-year span. If I look and this has 2 years, can years be put in a spot that I've already labeled as months? So we need to remind ourselves, if 1 year is 12, how many would be in 2? Well, 12 times 2 is 24 months. So even though the word problem gave us the number 2, it's not relatable to the actual portion we're trying to set up. So I cannot use the number 2 directly in my proportion. I'm still technically going for 2 years, but I'm counting it in terms of months. So that's the slight difference there. Okay? Again, use cross multiplication, and your goal here is to figure out what does x equal. And again, my units show a dollar sign, so your final answer should be referring to money. Okay? Last word problem we have represents in an airplane boards 16 people every 3 minutes. How long would it take all 150 passengers to board the flight? So, important details we have. They board 16 people every 3 minutes. How long is a way of saying a measure of time. And they have given us 150 passengers, which is a fancy way of saying people. So, with that in mind, our first sentence gives us our very first fraction. We have 16 people, and it says 3 minutes. I now know how to set up the other side. People have to go on top, minutes has to go on the bottom. And I'm going to read. How long would it take to board all 150 passengers? The number they gave us is 150. It's tied to the word passengers. Are passengers people or minutes? Well, obviously they're people. So we have 150 people, and we have no number to represent the minutes it would take for them to board. So we put in an X, or M for minutes, or T for time, whatever you want. Once you have that information set up, you are now capable of doing cross multiplication, okay? Remember, with cross multiplication, your big thing I want for you guys to do is if you are taking 16, you must go across the equal sign to multiply by X. 3 across the equal sign, multiply by 150. And then you're going to solve the equation to figure out what does X equal. And in this case, X represents the amount of time in minutes. Alright? Once you are done with your assignment, after you have taken this video and had help with the setup, you are going to finish solving each one of the questions to figure out what the value of X is. And then you're going to submit them to me. Again, you can submit them online through Canvas, or you can send it to me as a picture message to my phone number, which is also listed underneath the directions on Canvas. If you have any questions or concerns, please feel free to reach out to me. I'm here to help. Hope to hear from you guys soon.